Okay, today is September 15th, 2020, and right now at 9 a.m. we have a temperature of 71 degrees here in the foothills. We have very smoky conditions. Once again, the wind direction has changed, and so the valley areas are socked in with smoke from these fires. All right, so right now the barometric pressure is up a little bit. We're at 29.98, that's rising. It's about 1,015 millibar. Okay, so right now we're looking at Hurricane Sally, and the weather controllers have been targeting this system. We can see the pressure waves and blast patterns around the edge of that storm, and as a result of that, we see that in the Hurricane Center data, the storm has diminished to a Category 1 with 85 mile per hour sustained winds. And we have a central pressure that's dropped, or rather risen slightly, to 983 millibar. So there it is, moving northwest at 2 miles per hour. And if you look at this water vapor map, we can actually see high pressure. First we see water vapor streaming towards this low pressure in the very beginning of that loop. We'll watch it repeat here in a second. This is a 200 frame loop, and we can see that the high pressure builds in. And notice this weather is moving towards low pressure. That's the way it should be. But then we see as the loop progresses, watch this area darken. Right in here we can see this dark area filling out. And what's going to happen here is that the weather controller is going to push this storm back up and around. It's going to do a U-turn, and it's going to move up into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and out through South Carolina. So this is going to be quite interesting to watch. You see the pressure waves there. So the storm's being targeted. But if we look at the Doppler map right now, not a single WSR-88D is active along the Gulf Coast. And there's a number of them. There's one in Pensacola. We've got, they're all over the coastal area. And we know that those transmitters can diminish the flooding potential from one of these storms. And out on the west coast, as I've mentioned many times, our winter rains are mostly determined by these transmitters and how they limit the amount of precipitation an area will have. And of course, we observed here a year or two ago after Santa Barbara had those fires, and their hillsides were completely stripped. Just a couple of months later, we had the rains come in, and lo and behold, the weather controllers did not utilize those WSR-88Ds. They allowed that area to flood, and it was a massive flood, destroying a lot of homes in the Montecito area from all that the flash flooding, water rushing down that mountain range into those homes. So this is terrorism. It's crimes against humanity. That much is clear. If we pan around here, we can see that over on the west coast, still we have no rain in California, and none on the forecast. There it is. A little bit of rain in Washington. Got a lot of fires burning. I've lost count. It was last time I heard it was around 78 fires. I'm sure it's much more than that now. We have kids in the Antifa movement. These youngsters are starting fires. Now, this is rather interesting. Keep an eye on this area of thunderstorm activity. We see some straight edges here. This is down in Mexico. In the meantime, Sally is the storm we'll keep an eye on. But none of those WSR88Ds are active. That's very telling. So the weather controllers are not utilizing the tools that they have to prevent disastrous flooding. So we can see the storm is moving right into, looks like it's moving more in a northerly direction, although the Hurricane Center points out that it's moving northwest at 2 miles per hour. So but here we see that high pressure is building in here on the west side, and that will prevent this moisture from moving in. Right here, these thunderstorms want to move towards that low pressure right there, where that center of that low is spinning counterclockwise. Here in the water vapor map, we can see it much better. We see this dark area fill in. And we see those pressure waves from the superheating process. What happens during the superheating process, we have satellite transmitters that beam microwave or laser energy near the center of that storm. That's the machine. The machinery of the storm is the center, the area, the vortex of where the rotation is occurring, and that's where the lift is all occurring. And if you can disrupt the lift in the storm, sufficiently disrupt the lift, then you will kill that storm. But what we see here is that they're managing that storm, and they brought it down to a Category 1 status. But as I've mentioned, we've watched these storms be killed out in the Atlantic and out also in the Pacific before they make landfall. Like we've seen many times, these storms head out towards Hawaii, and they are steered around the islands, or they are superheated at the last moments and brought down to 50, 60 mile per hour winds, and that's most structures and people can deal with that kind of wind and all that. That's clearly being targeted. We can see all the pressure waves and the blast pattern evidence, and of course the data here that's being returned. We can see that the storm has diminished. Okay, so that's good news. Looking at the west coast, the east, central, and east Pacific, we see that right angle is still visible. Look at that. I'm going to stop that loop, and we can see just how square that is. Now, that's not carbon dioxide causing that right angle. We have inept, incompetent politicians that are misleading. Not only that are they inept, but they're stupid. They don't know what's going on, and they're telling everybody that carbon dioxide is causing climate change. Well, this is climate control number one, and of course, there's a reason why the mainstream media doesn't show these satellite maps on their nightly news, because if people saw this activity, it wouldn't take long before the entire global warming and / climate change argument fell apart. It's already falling apart, but they don't show this stuff here because this is just so obvious. All of this moisture is trying to flow into a low pressure system, and it's being prevented. We see a blockade, an electronic fence essentially here, and so the antenna element on the satellite is creating this right angle. This is probably a low Earth orbiting weather satellite. They orbit in the range of 180 to 200 miles in a polar orbit, and as the satellite crosses moves south or north, as it may be, it causes this right angle, which is actually rotating. We can see that the angle tilts as time goes on. But the point of this, once again, is to prevent the jet stream moisture from flowing into that vortex, and that way they can precisely maintain central pressures. We know that in the weather futures business, payouts are entirely hinged on the central pressure of the storm. So if there's a lot of, if the pressure of the hurricane rises beyond a certain point, a certain pressure in millibar, then the payout is much less. And so people have to understand this is an inside job. We have people controlling the weather. They're controlling the weather contracts, the suckers, the people that run these cities and counties. They're paper shufflers. They have no technical abilities or understanding. 95% of them or 98% of them just don't have any clue about what's going on. And they have no understanding of so many technical things. And then we hear people like Joe Biden, who is out there talking about it. Well, it's science. And we have other Democrats doing the same thing. This is ridiculous. The fact is that our weather is being controlled, and nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, in the living room. And that's obvious. And of course, the mainstream media is not showing us these maps. And there's a reason for that. I keep saying that over and over, but there's a reason for that. They don't want the public to see the obvious here, which is this right angle. And we have just all kinds of things going on. We have the chemtrail aerosols, which are sprayed at precise times when moisture is due to arrive on shore. I'd like to hear from the people in Oregon and Washington. If you could let us know on the channel in the comments if you saw any streaks, any chemical chemtrail aerosols being sprayed. I know there's a lot of smoke in the skies, but down here in California, we've actually seen some streaks over the skies in the last week. And so everybody put your comments in the video. Now, one other thing is that people have been commenting these long comments, religious stuff, going on and on and on about different passages in the Bible and all that. This is not a religious forum. This is a weather forum, and so we want to stay on topic. If you want to post religious comments, set your channel up and post your comments, and if you want to put a link in your comment on this channel, that's fine. But solicitation of different types of businesses and all the rest of it on this channel, we're just going to delete those comments. And shills, of course, we don't tolerate shills. There's enough of those to. Anyhow, we don't tolerate shills. We bounce them out. So that's that. So there it is, Hurricane Sally. None of the WSR-88Ds are active, and we'll just leave it there. Okay, that's it.